back. The Me Too movement is taking all sorts of shapes and forms right now with a lot happening on the internet. One recent Me Too post that went viral is especially getting attention. Here to explain is the author of that post, Geraldine DeRuiter. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Someone I love. So what were you thinking about in general for the Me Too movement before you wrote this post?
You know, I was thinking it's about time. You know, we all have these stories, all of us. And what I think is amazing is how much time passed and how accustomed we became with all of it. You know, we just got used to it.
I feel almost guilty about that because I feel like, oh, I just thought that was what you had to put up with.
We all did. You know, we all did. We all thought that's just how it was. And I think it wasn't until people started talking about it and sharing these stories that we realized, oh, this isn't how it's supposed to be. And part of it is, you know, the narratives are such that we blame ourselves. And because we blame ourselves, we're less inclined to talk about it. We think, oh, I brought that upon myself.
What did I say? What did I do that made him think that this was cool?
Right.
Kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, we've all been there. And it's sort of the microcosm of the larger phenomenon of us internalizing just bad messages, lessening messages, messages that we're smaller than we really are.
Absolutely.
That come in over the transom. So Mario Batali wrote an apology for some bad behavior of his, and he embedded in that statement a recipe for cinnamon rolls, which was odd, I thought.
It's a crazy juxtaposition, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, sorry about all that, you know, misbehavior, but hey, here's a roll. So you wrote about it, and I thought brilliantly with great irony and insight. I laughed. I was. If there's something between a tragic comedy where you're laughing, crying kind of thing, tell me about what you wrote and what happened.
Well, so when I was reading his apology, it's funny because I think for a lot of us, we tend to take the words of powerful men at face value. And so we read it and, you know, we have all these powerful men who are coming out with these apologies, and we see the apologies and they make the statement and then they kind of disappear for a little bit, and we don't know for how long. And so this seemed like another one of those, and I'm like, all right, he's apologized, he's sorry, and we take it at face value. And then I saw this recipe, and I kind of took that at face value. Oh, he says it's a great recipe. And I was like, no, this is ridiculous. Like, the inclusion of it is absurd. It kind of trivializes everything that people have gone through because of his actions, and also his apology itself. And then as I was staring at this recipe, you know, I've done a fair amount of baking in my time, and I thought, there's no way that this recipe is a good recipe. So I
You
decided,
did not take the little offering that he, gave you.
So I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? The second I have the chance to, I'm going to make these cinnamon rolls. And I am going to make them exactly as written, because I could already tell that there were problems with the recipe. And I love to bake. I think it's a really joyous thing.
Usually, but this was kind of an angry bake.
This
wasn't
was a hate bake.
Yes,
I'm not gonna lie. And my husband noticed. He saw me, you know, punching the dough, and I think he could tell.
Wrapping it too tight.
Yeah, he could tell something was amiss as I was baking them. And I knew as I was baking them, and I was following it to the letter, but there were all these gaps and there were all these pieces missing in the recipe. And normally I know what to do to fix those errors. But I thought, you know what? I'm not going to fix these errors for Batali.
I'm just going to let it be what it is.
I want to make the recipe as you've written it.
So you wrote it up not only as a what happened with the food, but how you were feeling about it, and also some of the inner monologue that we have when things don't go well.
Which was a bit salty.
It was salty, but it was real, and I think a lot of us could see ourselves in a lot of it.
Thank you.
But the pushback online was, you know, kind of that zombie apocalypse, you know, coming at you when you are brave enough to say, this is what I think about this. What happened?
It I actually am still surprised at the reaction. The blog post took off, which I hadn't anticipated.
Totally viral.
Yeah, it went very viral. So Pete Wells, who is the food critic or the restaurant critic for the New York Times, tweeted about it. Martha Stewart tweeted about it. Dan Savage tweeted about it. Each of those tweets led to enough traffic to have crashed my site on a couple occasions. I got written up by the New York Times. I had inquiries coming in from all sorts of publications. It's a writer's dream, but it's also really daunting and strange. And then I had a bunch of people reach out to me telling me, I related and connected to this post. And of course, if you are a woman and you do anything that gets any degree of attention, you also get backlash for it. So I had, just a frenzy of hate comments on the blog, a couple hateful messages, and then my Twitter account was hacked.
Somebody just literally took it from you.
Yeah.
And you had the experience that other people have had of you contact Twitter and they say, "Oh, you're not contacting us from the email account attached to your Twitter account." Well, yeah, because somebody changed my email account on my Twitter account that they've taken control of. You've gotten it back.
I have, yes.
But what are we to make of this? That part of the thing, and I'm sorry, this is just my opinion, but it feels to me like the Me Too movement kind of quickly got ripped into a different lens where we went back to looking at things almost from a male point of view. Oh, we're lumping too many things together. We're losing too many, men who are on TV or whatever else. And I'm like, give us a hot second to say what we need to say here first. But you experience kind of the viral version of that where somebody just attacks the platform by which you were expressing yourself.
Yeah, well, and I think what we need to remember too is, there's all this talk of what the Me Too movement is going to be, and I think it encompasses so many different things. There are a lot of different chapters in the book of difficult things that women have to deal with, and it is a huge book, and those chapters are very, very different, and some of them pertain to things like rape, and some of them pertain to sexual harassment, and some of them pertain to everyday sexism. And they are distinct and different things, but they are all things that women have to deal with, and they are all things that are part of this conversation. And I think we need to pay attention to all of those things. And so we can't talk about what isn't part of the conversation and what is. It's all important.
But let's make sure we keep the book open.
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
There are too many people trying to slam that shut.
Absolutely.
And a cinnamon roll isn't going to do it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate it. And I love your writing.
Oh,
and
thank you.
You can come here anytime, or just we'll go to lunch and drinks and maybe
we'll have
more.
Good cinnamon rolls.
Not bad. Not having Mario's rolls. Up next, why a young man from Anacortes is getting ready to fly to all 50 states and how he's prepared his flying machine. We'll be right back.